Hey friends, it's Paige Evans and I have a new process video to share with you today. This is featuring my envelope mini album cut file available in the Silhouette store. And I am using my brand new collection with pink paisley called Pick Me Up. And this was really fun and easy to put together. So in my library, I am searching for envelope and it comes up right here, envelope gift mini album. And when it adds it to a new file, it's kind of a big mess because it's bigger than the mat, but it is ready to go. You don't need to size it. So right click and ungroup everything. And I'm going to start by cutting the biggest piece first. So when you send it to your machine, make sure you have the right tool and the speed and the force, and then click send. So I have cut it from paper number 2. It's got a pretty floral on one side and pink polka dots on the other. I want the floral to be on the outside of the album, and the cut file comes with perforated lines, so all you need to do is bend and fold, and ready for the next step. So the cut file does include this 12-inch strip it kind of acts like a ribbon, but I think it's easiest to just trim it from a favorite pattern paper, and it's got these slits that you just push the pattern paper through, and moving on to the next cut file. Next I want to cut the envelope, so I move the mini album base away, I put the envelope on top, and then send. Decided to cut this envelope from this pattern paper. Again, everything is from Pick Me Up, and again it's got perforated lines, so you fold on the lines and the envelope is ready to go. You want to add adhesive on just the edges so that it still is an envelope and you can tuck things inside of it. And then you may not be ready to adhere it inside your album, but I am not going to add any stitching to it or anything else, so I am going to go ahead and adhere it inside the mini album. So I've applied adhesive to the back, all the edges, and then carefully trying to center it in the middle. Great. Back into Silhouette. Going to move the envelope over, and then we're going to start working on the squares, or the rectangles, I guess, of pattern paper. They are grouped together, so you need to right click and ungroup. And going to start on the left side and work our way clockwise around. So I had pieces of paper cut out already from the pattern papers that I'm using. That's why they're on funny spots instead of just like the top left corner or top right corner. Anyway, so I cut it from this triangle colorful paper, adhered it in place, and now I am assembling the pocket. This is a diagonal triangular pocket, and if you just put adhesive on the left edge and fold it up, you have a nice pocket where you can add embellishments, and I actually will tuck photos into it, extra photos. Moving on to the next rectangle, move that first one out of the way, add this one, and again just press send. Cameo cuts it out for you, and I'm only using basic temporary adhesive because I know I'm going to use machine stitching to stitch everything in place. But if you're not going to do machine stitching, make sure you use a good adhesive when you're attaching all these pieces so that it doesn't come apart with wear and tear and handling over the years. This is the mini rectangle on the top part of this right side. Going back into Silhouette, moving that rectangle out of the way. You could do this whole step in one fell swoop if you want to use all of the same pattern papers, or if you want to measure and cut your pattern papers before putting them on the mat and using the grid on the sticky mat with the grid inside Silhouette Studio. But it's kind of easier just to do it one at a time. Send. This is going to be from, what pattern paper did I use? Oh, these cute bows. So it's the back side of that dark royal blue paper from that middle section. Last rectangle, this is going to be the bottom piece, and I'm using a pink colorful circles paper. So I'll just adhere that at the bottom. And the last part of this cut file is going to be a bow. But here I'm just showing you how it folds up. And this pattern paper piece folds up, and I'm going to trim it just a little bit because it doesn't need to be that long. Unless you're going to use really bulky embellishments, you can trim the excess. Back to the cut file. Here's the last piece. It's the bow. So I'm moving it over, and I'm going to cut it from yellow pattern paper with lemons on the opposite side. So here I'll show you how to assemble the bow. You fold the ends inside towards the middle, and then you wrap the rectangle piece around the middle. You can use a temporary adhesive to adhere it in place if you want to stitch through it later, or you can use a glue dot, hot glue gun, etc. to assemble it, and then you put the bow piece behind the bow, the tabs behind the bow. I'm not sure what you call this piece. It's just part of the bow, the ends. And then glue it on top of that pattern paper strip. I do want to add some texture, so I'm using my sewing machine and a straight stitch to stitch around the edges of every rectangle, every paper rectangle, and then I will also add some zigzag stitching to the sides, which also creates some fun texture. Here I'll bring it up close so you can see the stitching. This was before I did the zigzag stitching. And then the base is done, and it's time to add photos and embellishments. So I'm using pictures from our family photo shoot that we did for our Christmas cards. For another fun interactive element, I printed this strip of 3 photos of Fox and Jane hugging and then folded them accordion style. And I'm using a tab, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it right now, but just to hold it in place I will use a binder clip and continue embellishing, and then I'll come back to it a little bit later. I'm going to place this round chipboard sticker on the edge of the envelope, the point of the envelope, and put a flower sticker on top, adding a Hello Sweetness sentiment die cut and a grateful chipboard sticker. It's floral on the bottom section, along with a photo of me and my husband. In the royal blue section, I added a plum die cut and a wild tab and a moth. In the little section above, I added a heart, a watermelon heart, and a pick-me-up chipboard. On the top, I've added photos, embellishments, tucked some photos into that pocket along with the camera, added a heart die cut underneath the envelope flap, and then here I'm going to add a photo and sentiment on this large ticket journaling spot and tuck it in. I'll also write my journaling on that card and tuck it in. You'll see me do the journaling a little bit later. I'm going to add this chipboard heart on top of the die cut heart using a mini stapler, and then trimming off the excess part of the photo at the bottom. Here I'm going to work on this photo strip a little bit more. I'm going to use a more permanent adhesive to attach the tab to the top, and then I'm going to bring in my roller stamp from my Take Me Away collection, which was my second collection. There's a row of hearts, so I'll use black Stays-On ink to apply it to the roller stamp and then stamp it onto the tab. There's a puffy sticker that says hello, and I'll just add it right below the stamped hearts. And then I'm going to use a paper clip also from Take Me Away to hold the folded photos in place. Seeing how it feels and looks when it's all folded up. And I didn't trim the thread ends after I had sewed it, so I have to trim them up a little bit here. Adding a bit more adhesive so the ribbon stays in place, but I'm not done because there were some empty sections and I decided I wanted to fill all the sections because I had photos, so why not? I've got these little square photos of Fox and Jane, so I'm going to hold them in place with some bits of washi tape. This is a 4-page booklet of washi tape and 6 by 12 inches. Each one is about a 1/2 inch up to maybe 3/4 of an inch. And then, what am I going to do now? Apply some rub-ons to this photo strip. I just keep coming back. I haven't used rub-ons yet in this mini album, so it's a good place to do that, especially because there's quite a bit of white space on these photos. So I'm cutting out this little lemon, getting the popsicle stick that comes in the rub-ons pack, and then applying it. I'm also going to add a flower in between the left two photos. So again, I cut it out and then place it, rub over it with a popsicle stick, and carefully remove the protective top layer. Okay, I'm going to be done with those photos now. Oh, after I place a little bit of tape on the back so that tab doesn't go anywhere. So that's fun. I love having more interactive elements inside an already interactive album. Going to fold it up, and then I notice these rectangles are missing some things. So I'm going to add a lovely day sticker right here, also just to jazz up that section. A sailboat die cut is going to be held in place by the paper clip, and then I will add a favorite sticker onto that small rectangle. I'm going to add tiny puffy stickers to those photos and also add little Polaroid photo frame stickers, and that is going to finish up those sections. And adding a floral puffy sticker to that photo ticket stub that goes inside the envelope. And now here's where I write my journaling. Just using a black pen. A lot of the times I like to write my journaling with a pencil first, but in this case I already know my journaling is going to go here. There's lines already, so it just worked out to write it in pen from the beginning. I trimmed this sentiment sticker in half since I didn't fill up the entire journaling card, and then I will tuck these into the envelope along with some extra photos. And that, my friends, is the finished mini album. I hope you are inspired to try out this envelope mini album cut file available in the Silhouette store. It's a fun change of pace from traditional scrapbooking, and it came together really easily by using a single collection. I used my new Pick Me Up collection by Pink Paisley. Thanks so much for joining me. See you again soon.